Hello everyone and welcome to Metagame Mastery, where it's not just about what the card does, but how it impacts the game. Guilds of Ravnica preview season is upon us, and we're getting our first look at the new Vraska, as well as tons of amazing new Golgari. If you enjoy this content, click that subscribe button so you get access to all our latest videos, and if you're looking to pre-order your Guilds of Ravnica booster box, check out our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. Without further ado, big time! Go time! Let's go! Vraska Golgari Queen is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, green and a black for a legendary planeswalker with starting loyalty of 4. You can give her +2, and you may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less, and -9. You get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So this Vraska is very fairly costed. You're getting 4 loyalty on a 4 cost planeswalker. She is a sorcery speed sack outlet with her +2 and gives you repeatable life gain and card draw. Her -3 is abrupt decay on a stick. I like that. And then her ultimate allows you to really close out the game quickly and efficiently. They cleverly designed this so that you can't just pop off her ultimate with a doubling season, much like the first version of Vraska, which is what a lot of players like to do in their Super Friends Atraxa decks. All in all, I'd say this card is a little too balanced. It depends on what comes out. If Undergrowth Aristocrats becomes a major archetype in Standard, then yeah, this will definitely see play there. Outside of that, this is obviously good in Limited. I don't foresee this catching on in Modern, and I'm not sure I really want this for Commander. Midnight Reaper is 3 CMC, 2 colorless and black for a 3/2 zombie knight. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. So this is not Grim Horuspex. This is a little bit worse. It does have the upside of if it dies, it replaces itself, whereas Grim Horuspex does not. That's not a huge upside overall. What I do like about this card is its downside, dealing 1 damage to you, is very easily offset. First of all, you could just give this lifelink because it's dealing damage instead of life loss, which you typically see with these type of effects. So that would negate any and all of its drawback. It also has much more relevant creature types. It will go in zombie decks. And in aristocrat decks, especially in eternal formats, you see them running cards like Kakusho, Gary. They have life gain to more than compensate for any life loss that this will cause them. So this is good redundancy. I see this actually seeing a lot of play in aristocrat decks and standard. It's going to be good for you in limited. I could see this seeing a lot of play in EDH, in aristocrat decks, zombie tribal decks, even knight decks. This is a solid card. Molder Hulk is 8 CMC or 9 CMC. Ooh, 7 colorless, black and a green for a 6/6 fungus zombie with undergrowth. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. When it enters the battlefield, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so this is a card that people are already talking about modern implications. It potentially could fit into dredge decks. It could potentially fit into the new Vengevine decks. I think it's still a little bit too slow and doesn't quite do enough for it to find a permanent home. But I see a lot of people, or I foresee a lot of people looking to experiment with it, and that's cool. I don't think this is going to take the place of Gurmag Angler, but I do like that it's a 6/6. You can get on the board early, and gets it's not able to be targeted by cards like Abrupt Decay or Fatal Push. That said, in Standard, if I don't see this making a big splash unless an Undergrowth deck really takes off in Standard. In Limited, this thing's almost universally good. I mean, really, you only need to have 2 or 3 cards in your graveyard to make this fairly costed, or creature cards in your graveyard to make this fairly costed. If you get this with 4 cards in your graveyard, then all of a sudden you're getting an advantage, and it ramps you up. So I like this card a lot in Limited. If you know that you're going to be in Golgari, if you know that you're going for an Undergrowth theme, then this is a windmill slam every time. Mausoleum Secrets is 1 colorless and a black for an instant with Undergrowth. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Okay, so I like this card a lot. It's a cheap tutor, just as cheap as Demonic Tutor. Mind you, it only gets black cards, and it's contingent on your graveyard. But that said, there are tons and tons of graveyard strategies. This is going to be an amazing tutor in Limited. This could potentially see play in Standard if that Undergrowth deck takes off. And then let's not even talk about decks like Sidisi, Marin of the Clan Nel Toth, and EDH. I mean, this thing has the potential to really get nuts. And being able to cast it as an instant at the end of an opponent's turn, so that you have the ability to respond on your next turn before they can get a chance to react, is extremely powerful. This is in the right deck, this is a busted card. Golgari Findbroker is 4 CMC, black, black, green, green for a 3/4 elf shaman. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so Eternal Witness this is not. So let's just set that aside. I don't see this making a splash in Standard or Modern. And EDH, you would really only run this if you're really desperate for redundancy, or maybe you're just trying to play something way more budget than Eternal Witness, and that's fine. That said, in Limited, this thing is a beast. You're getting a 3/4 for 4 that replaces itself and plays very well with the Undergrowth mechanic. That's solid stats for a fair cost that also gives you card advantage. If you know that you're going to be in that deck archetype and Limited, this is a windmill slam every time. Swarm Guildmage is 2 CMC, black and a green for a 2/2 elf shaman. You can pay 4 colorless and a black, tap it, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. You can pay 1 colorless and a green, tap it, you gain 2 life. So Guild Mages are back, and this one is a 2/2 for 2. That's solid. It's just good curve filler right there. It has the potential late game to help you push through a ton of damage if you've got a wide enough board state. And in the interim, once 2/2s are no longer relevant in combat, you can use this as a mana dump to gain incidental value off of that extra 2 life. So it's a solid card in Limited. Here we have the first card of a cycle of mana rocks that will be found at common. They all cost 3 colorless mana for an artifact. that taps for a mana of the colors of the guild they represent. They can also have 4 hybrid mana, tap it, sack it, draw 2 cards. So in limited, this is just even more color fixing. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see people running 3, maybe splash a 4th color in their decks because there's going to be such an obnoxious amount of color fixing in this set. That said, it's not a good feeling to take turn 3 off in limited. It's not a good feeling to take turn 3 off in standard. And for most of these, you have better options in EDH for turn 3 mana ramp. So I'm going to click through these real quick here. But in general, you really only want to run these if you're A, you have a ridiculously high mana curve, or B, you're just really looking for some mana fixing so that you can splash additional colors. Now, Boros Locket is one that I think is the exception to the rule. This will likely see play in EDH. In fact, I would call this a welcome addition in EDH because Boros is just so thirsty for both mana ramp and card draw. Goblin Banneret is 1 red mana for a 1/1 Goblin Soldier with Mentor. You can pay 1 colorless and a red. He gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So I really like this guy. Yeah, he doesn't mentor anything on his own, right? But that said, he plays really well. If you have other mentor creatures that pump him up, he can start mentoring tokens or other small creatures that you have on the board, getting you additional value. And then late game, if you are just looking to dump mana or you need to start a mentor chain, you could put 2 mana, 4 mana, 6 mana, whatever it takes into this guy, and he can start mentoring up your other creatures, allowing you to grow your board. This is a really solid mentor enabler. Once again, squishy on the toughness side, which feels bad, but we'll see if they have anything to help compensate for that as preview season goes on. Guild Mage's Forum is a land card that you can tap for a colorless mana, or you could pay a colorless, tap it, add 1 mana of any color. If that mana is spent on a multicolored creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so this is an Opal Palace that doesn't necessarily have to target your commander. It's very niche, very specific. I only run Opal Palace in maybe a couple decks, and even then it's kind of iffy a lot of the time. Who really loves this though? Marchesa. Marchesa is going to latch onto this so fast. Passwall Adept is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a blue for a 1/3 human wizard. You can pay 2 colorless and a blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So I like Passwall Adept. It's a toughness bear. You know, we've been seeing a lot of 1/3s for 2 lately. It's not going to push the offense, but it becomes a great mana dump late game to push through that extra damage. So I like him. Night Veil Sprite is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and blue for a 1/2 fairy rogue with flying. Whenever it attacks, surveil 1. I really like this card. This card might be the card that I'm most excited about so far in Dimir. It's an evasive flyer with that won't get nixed off the board by chain whirler type effects, and it's repeatable super scry. I really like this. I would snatch this up in limited every time, especially if I'm going for a Dimir build. Not to mention, this will play well in Is It as well. But in EDH, I have tons of homes for this. I would run this in Ninja Tribal. I would run this in Edric. I would run this in Una. This is a very solid, solid card. Whispering Snitch is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a black for a 1/3 vampire rogue. Whenever you surveil for the first time each turn, Whispering Snitch deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. So I'm glad that this finally happened, because at long last, they've printed a vampire that isn't an auto-include and Edgar Markov. All joking aside, this is really solid and limited. You're getting a bear that's going to get you incidental value over time, especially in Dimir, where it looks like there's going to be a ton of great surveil cards. And it's going to be a strong mechanic, so I like that a lot. I also like that this would fit in very well in Golgari if you're able to splash some surveil to help fuel your undergrowth. So this is a really solid choice in limited overall. Notion Rain is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, blue and a black for sorcery. Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, then this deals 2 damage to you. So I love these cards. They're really good card selection in addition to card advantage. Yes, it's going to deal 2 damage to you, but I can live with that. This is a really good card in limited. House Guildmage is 2 CMC, a blue and a black for a 2/2 human wizard. You could pay a colorless and a blue, tap it, tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. You could pay 2 colorless and a black, tap it, surveil 2. Wow. This is an amazing value bear. So it's like we're getting if Fanbearer and Crystal Ball got fused into one in Dimir colors. I mean, you're paying a 2 mana for a 2/2. That's good right there. Then you're getting potentially repeatable pseudo removal in limited, messing with the combat math, making it so that your opponents are less effective. And this can really, if you're willing to dump the mana into it every turn, this can hold down 2 of your opponent's best creatures on its own. That's solid. That's really good. And then late game, or on turns where you don't need to hold down their creatures, you can just go ahead and tap this down to get some great card quality control and fuel your graveyard. This is a really, really good bear. And here we have another split card. This time it's Expansion and Explosion. Expansion is Hybrid Is It, which is any combination of blue and red. For an instant, copy target instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. Okay, so we've got sort of a limited fork on this, and that's solid. I mean, being able to copy your opponent's counter, being able to copy your spells as you storm off, this is really good. And then you have Explosion, which is X blue blue red red for an instant. It deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards. So I like to think of this as Fireball's Revelation, right? It's pretty high cost, but it's an instant, and it allows you to wait until your opponent's tapped down so that they won't be able to counter this, which is really good for X spells. And then it turns around and it refills your hand and potentially finishes an opponent off or nicks something off the board or even kills a planeswalker, because this is any target. That's a solid, solid card. I like this one a lot. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, click that subscribe button so you get access to all our latest videos. And if you're super stoked about Guilds of Ravnica coming out, pre-order your booster box by clicking on our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. This has been Metagame Mastery. Peace!